and sparks. But let's just remind you, why has Ukraine become effectively the forgotten conflict? Those figures, again, more than 9,000 civilians have lost their lives. Put the two sides of the conflict together and you're nudging 300,000. For Russia, if you scale it up to Britain's population, 75,000 men, mostly men, perhaps women, have either lost their lives or had what are called life-altering injuries. And yet no one seems to talk anymore about Ukraine. Cormac's in Kennington. Cormac, you're on the radio. Just remind everybody, you've played a role in this. Good morning.
Nick, good morning, and thank you for having me on. Yes, I served for 2 years as a British civil servant, as a special advisor to the Foreign Minister of Ukraine between 2016 and 2018, so I have a real interest in this. Look, thank you very much for having me on. What I want to say, fantastic to hear Lee Turner on the programme at the top of the hour, and fantastic also that you're actually giving this a bit of coverage. We are suffering from Ukraine fatigue. But I'd like to go back to, especially since the horrible events of the 7th of October in Gaza, the attention has swung away from this. And to be honest, it could be said that the greatest winner on the 7th of October was Vladimir Putin. You said earlier on that you can only spend £1 once. Is that pound to be spent, I think you said, on Israel or on Ukraine?
Middle East or Ukraine, yeah.
The Middle East or Ukraine. Yeah. I think the answer is neither. It needs to be spent on both. What people are not talking about, this is clearly linked. President Zelensky came out on the 10th of October and said that, Russia's fingerprints were all over this. The Ukrainian security services are clear that Russia, who we know is an ally of Iran, who back Hamas, that Russia has been involved in training Hamas and helping them prepare for the 7th of October attack for probably over a year. I've heard similar things from my contacts with our security services here. As I said, I'm not sure why more people aren't talking about it.
So what needs to be done, Cormac? What does the UN need to do? What does UK need to do? What does the media need to do? What does Volodymyr Zelensky need to do? Who needs to do what and when?
Well, I'm not a civil servant anymore, so I can give my honest opinion that the UN is absolutely useless. And I don't think the UN will do anything effectively for this. We need to, the Western alliance, of which the UK has been a leading part, have armed Ukraine. We have given Ukraine enough to keep them in the fight. We have not given them enough to actually help them deliver the knockout blow. And there was a very good article by former retired General Ben Hodges making this very point only a few days ago. We need to get the Ukrainians every single weapon and munition that they need to defeat Russia in Ukraine and drive them back to 1991 borders.
Cormac, lastly, a forgotten war, I'm putting that in quotes. What's your greatest fear now?
My greatest fear is that the major allies in the West will tire of it, that we will have a change of administration in the United States where there are huge threats of withdrawing aid from Ukraine. We're hearing from the Speaker, and we hear from President Trump, and we hear from other people. So my greatest fear is that the West will not realise that how dangerous this is, because what Lee Turner said is if Russia succeeds in Ukraine, he will not stop there. Putin will not stop. This will lead to destabilisation across Europe and indeed across the rest of the globe.
Cormac, I always enjoy speaking with you. Sadly, it's always for the wrong reasons. So thank you for your input.